Hi, I'm Katrina, and this is Boldly Challenging Ableism. I'm your host, Katrina Simons. I'm the Community Program Specialist at the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. This program explores various topics that impact people with disabilities in our community. Each episode addresses a different aspect of our society within the context of ableism. Ableism is the prejudice that stems from the belief or belief system that assumes someone is less capable or less worthy because of a real or perceived difference in ability or function. On this program, we hope to answer some questions you may have been afraid to ask, or maybe some you didn't even know you had. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Hi, welcome to Boldly. Thanks for joining us today. Today, my guest is Thomas Robinson, who's a local activist and artist here in the Twin Cities. Thanks for coming, Thomas.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm an autist. I have autism. I'm 46. I have autism. I work for ACT. I'm autistic to interact.
Is it okay if I tell people what ACT is and what Interact is? Okay, so ACT is the very first, I believe, advocacy organization that centers people with developmental disabilities in the advocacy process, and ACT stands for Advocating Change Together. And I think they recently have changed the name to Advocating Change Together Center for Disability Leadership, correct?
I think so.
And they, I think, were founded in like 1979, maybe?
Yeah.
When ACT was started, it was the very first advocacy organization, disability advocacy organization in the Twin Cities that wanted to advocate with people with disabilities instead of for them. So it's very exciting, very well-established outfit here in the Twin Cities. And then Interact is a nonprofit theater and arts company here in the Twin Cities that employs people with disabilities to work in the arts, and
they do their own art there.
And do their own art, and then they help sell it too, right?
They do theater, and they do theater show.
And I have to admit, I'm not sure when they were founded.
1996.
Oh, they've been around since 1996.
It was founded by Jeannie.
Jeannie. What's her last name? Sorry.
I forgot.
Okay. And then I think you also produce work on your own too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about like what your daily life looks like, or like where you live, or just so we can get to know you a little bit more?
I work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at Interact.
Okay.
And Tuesdays I have days off. Some Tuesdays board meetings at ACT.
Okay. So you're on the board at ACT.
Yeah, I'm president or co-chair.
Oh, okay, co-chair.
Yeah, this co-chair. I'm about to get off of it, but yeah. Sometimes they do ICI with you.
Yeah, once a month on the fourth Wednesday.
And I'm a gay group, and I have my autism group once a month.
And can you tell us a little bit about where you live?
I live in an LSS group home.
In an LSS group. And do you like it?
Yeah.
Yep. And do you have your own room?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm my own guardian, and it's kind of hard. Like, the thing I struggle with is money. And
okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And you have lived, how long have you lived where you live now?
10 years.
20 years?
10.
10 years, okay.
Maybe 7, 8, 9, yeah.
Okay.
Between 7 and 10.
Have you guys experienced staffing changes lately?
It's just the higher up.
Just the higher up? Okay, so...
Not the house, the higher up.
Okay, so you're pretty happy with the staff that support you in the house?
Yeah, they've been there for 3 years.
That's a long time for a staff.
The guy who runs the house been there 10 years or 20 years.
Okay.
He started as a person working there, and so he's been there a long time.
And does he live there?
No.
No. Okay.
He lives in somewhere else.
And you have 3 roommates?
Yeah.
Okay, and have they all been there the same amount of time?
No. The third one replaced somebody that passed away a couple months last year.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's okay. And then the other one played that one, and that it's like, and then they are like new. One, two of them have been there longer.
And did you have say when your roommates moved in?
Yes, we met them.
Yeah, you met them first. Okay. I'm just curious. Because there's something called the Olmstead Act. And under the Olmstead Act, people are supposed to be able to have a reasonable choice about who their roommate is. So that's why I was wondering. Okay, can you tell me a little bit how you got started in your advocacy journey?
I started an advocacy journey, I think, I went to protest when I was younger. My parents were involved in politics.
Okay.
Way back then, I went to other meetings.
Okay.
And then I started advocating for my first gig, Composure.
Okay.
I started before Composure. I started with ALC when Mark Open was over there.
Okay, ALC. And what does ALC stand for again? Sorry.
No, not ALC.
ARC. Oh, ARC, the ARC of Minnesota.
When back then.
Our ARC of Greater Twin Cities? So back when ARC of Twin Cities was by my house, right?
Yeah, and People Force.
Okay, so ARC of Twin Cities, ARC used to stand for the, I'm not going to say it, but it used to have the letters used to correspond to words, but now it's just called the ARC. And they work for the rights of people with intellectual disabilities historically, and since then, it has transitioned to the rights of people with developmental disabilities. So developmental disabilities are disabilities that onset before age 22, significant impairment in 3 or more areas of life, and permanent. So ARC is a big factor in the in sort of the way that the people with developmental disabilities have gotten to have a voice in the overall disability justice movement. So that's pretty exciting. Coincidentally, they used to be right across the street from my house, but they moved. They're now on Fairview Avenue in St. Paul. I've been meaning to. Have you been to their new offices? Yeah. Okay. I've been meaning to get over there and just haven't made it. I got to make a priority. And People First was what they called their self-advocacy coalition, right?
Yeah, and then went to SPAM, I think, to SAM, and then SPAM, I think that would.
Okay, and People First actually has national roots, right?
Yeah.
So there's People First groups all over the nation, and you don't have to have a disability to be part of them, but they are designed to advocate for the rights of people with primarily developmental disabilities, correct? Or all disabilities?
I don't remember.
Yeah. But I think it was founded for people with intellectual disabilities, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where you got your start. And how old were you then?
College.
Okay. So
Before that, I started at Minnesota Life College and the student council.
Okay.
Which was you know what Minnesota Life College is?
No. I mean, I do, but what can you tell us?
It's called something else now.
Yeah, I know, but it's still.
It's Minnesota Life College for people with disabilities who are autism. Back then, they were just making it better. Now they're well known for their programming.
So, is it fair to say that people who go to Minnesota Life College may or may not have an intellectual disability, or do they have one for sure?
Some of them do, I think.
Okay. And you work on both. You have coursework, and then you work on life skills as well, correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you went there, did you live there?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's in where is it? It's in southern Minnesota?
Richfield.
Okay, never been there. And do they have like dorms and stuff? Like, what's it like? Apartments. Okay. And then do you have roommates in that apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was okay.
Can I ask you what you liked about it?
I learned some stuff.
Okay. Can I ask you what you didn't like about it?
Just the rules and the craziness and the drama.
Like drama that all college students have, or like drama that was
disability committee had then.
Okay.
And the drama of, you're right, you're cool, what other people have.
So kind of cliquey?
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that?
Then I went to Homes Incorporated. That's where I lived for a couple of years. They're not good sisters.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Homes Incorporated. They're known for access to appointment. They own the same company.
Okay. So, and they're a group home company?
Yeah, an appointment company.
An apartment company?
No, appointment and a group home together. But they went downhill after that. And then I went to LifeWork in the job in Bloomington. It was healthcare. You had to do HIPAAs and HIPAA, medical filing, medical. I did a mail route.
Did you like that job?
A little bit.
Okay, you know what job I really like? I like licking the envelopes and to close them. That was a really fun job.
Yeah.
I thought, but I was glad that I didn't have to do it for the rest of my life. And then what did you do?
Then I worked LifeWork, Kapoja. I worked at Fraser for 18 years.
Okay, and what did you do at Fraser?
Work in the classroom.
Work in the class. Okay. Did you like being with the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah.
I also worked in, after Kapoja is employment people.
Composure is an employment provider,
That
right?
provide jobs people in the pond.
They provide jobs, and they only have ever provided competitive employment, which means that everybody who goes through Composure to get their job gets paid the same amount as everybody else, which, as we're going to talk about on another episode, not everybody with disabilities gets paid a competitive rate. Some people are still being paid a different rate, which is called subminimum wage. But the point is that Composure has always been an employment services provider, and they have always had people work for a competitive wage, which was exciting. It's basically like they were cool before everybody else was cool.
Yeah.
And now there's literally a law that says everybody has to be cool and do it how Composure does it. So that's cool. Okay, what did you do for Composure?
I worked at Minnesota at Fraser.
You worked at, okay.
And then I did some for AFC. Then I did some conferences for AFC. That when I got more involved in politics, to choose the job. Then I got involved in the other, AFC is.
Yeah, so APSI is an organization that is looking at helping all providers across the state of Minnesota provide competitive employment to people with disabilities, particularly people with intellectual disabilities, but people with disabilities in general.
I was on the first appointment summit.
You were?
Then they invited. Yeah, I was the first.
Wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I'll never write about it. I'm like, okay, then you.
Okay.
Don't tell me that.
Okay. You were like, now I'm moving on.
But then I lived in an apartment. I lived in a group home for. The problem with Fraser was always late because I tired them. And after 18 years, they fired me. I quit. And then after Fraser, ProAct.
Oh, ProAct. Okay. And that's another company that looks at.
When I was there, they had enclaves.
So ProAct is another company that looks at supporting people with disabilities during the day in a variety of ways.
Yeah. And then I moved to Interact.
And then you moved to Interact.
Yeah. Then in high school, I went to job site.
Okay.
I forgot the job site.
And that was before you graduated from high school.
Yeah.
So was that like a sort of like an employment preview part of high school, or was that like a job that you did while you were in high school?
Summer program.
Some of both. Okay, it was a summer program. Do you feel like high school adequately prepared you for what came next?
No.
No. Okay. Can I ask where you went to high school?
Southwest.
Okay, Southwest.
I went to the Transition Plus program, but it was located in downtown, and they didn't want me to make a choice where I wanted to go. So I ended up going to Minnesota College.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that option.
Yeah. I apparently opened the door for many people to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did open the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. You seem like the kind of guy that would open doors. You're kind of a trailblazer.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us a little bit about your art and what kind of art you do?
My art is teaching people with disabilities we can be the same. My art is drawing. I'm doing collages.
Like mixed media collages?
Yeah.
Cool. I know you've been with Interact for a while now. What else do you do? What else do you do through them?
Poetry.
You do poetry?
They're the writing group I do.
That's cool. And I think you've done some stuff with Cow Tipping Press, too.
Yeah.
As well, which is another sort of literary organization here in the Twin Cities that works with people with disabilities to produce written work, right?
Yeah.
Cool. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Take bus trips.
Take bus trips? Cool. Like anywhere in particular or just being on the bus?
It's around. Yeah. Yeah, reading. I go to church a lot.
Okay.
On Sunday.
Do you feel like you're a part of a faith community then?
Yeah. The disability community, I'm going to say this before I forget this. Then.
Okay.
I feel like the disability community are against each other, and different places are different things. You know what I mean? They're not out for each other. I'm noticing in this conversation, everything I go to, everyone wants to come together. I think we should, not against each other.
Is it okay if I just summarize what I think you said? Okay, so I think what you mean is that a lot of times it feels like, and I think, and correct me if you don't agree, I think it sometimes feels like you can only have this funding if you have this diagnosis, and you can only have this other funding if you have this other diagnosis.
I'm not just saying most people that work and fight into politics are on different sides, and they gossip about each other.
Yeah.
And it's time to stop that because we're out one.
Yeah, it's not very inclusive.
Yeah, it's all against each other, and that's what this government has made.
Which is ironic because the disability community kind of prides itself on inclusion, but when you think about it, there's a lot of exclusion in our inclusion, which is not great.
Yeah.
So that's something we have to work on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. When you take the bus trips, do you have like a purpose to those, or do you just like?
Sometimes I used to take it to work. And now I take Lyft to work and Uber, Lyft to work.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I take my move home.
Okay.
And then I take the city bus everywhere.
Okay.
I like the city bus because I enjoy talking to the drivers. And
yeah.
It's more independent. I grew up on
true.
Independency in my life. My parents taught me to be independent, taking the city bus to school.
Like in high school?
No, I took the school bus to high school.
Okay.
I had to go to a middle school program in Roseville that my parents drove me to, and I took the city bus back. Oh,
so like that your parents didn't feel that the programming at your local public school was appropriate, so they drove you all the way to Roseville?
Yeah, it was a 1-1 school. First I went to Friends School.
Okay.
And then I went there, so.
Okay. You went to the Friends School?
Yeah.
I have one friend that went there. It seemed like the sweetest school. I mean, it was a long time ago. It was like 25 years ago. But it seemed like a really sweet school.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you went to the program at Roseville. Okay, can I ask you, was that program...
1-on-1.
So that was 1-on-1. Okay, so you weren't... Were you with other people with disabilities?
Yeah.
Okay, and were you not with people that did not have disabilities?
Yeah. 1-on-1 means tutoring. 1-on-1, teacher 1-on-1, student cover class.
Oh, so what kind of things did they work on there?
You know, like a token system.
Oh.
Prizes, and the guy would litter.
Okay.
The guy was in John for Cop. You should look him up. He's not alive, but he's in Who's American. He's the famous, I like to call him, guy who died here, Puffle, and died crazy in the parking lot. But he found his school, and it's very good. And the problem is he lost the sport. He moved to school from one place in Roseville near Hammer Mile to a place with a warehouse with no windows.
Oh my! So was it literally like conditioning?
No, like you and me.
Like ABA?
No, like you and me sitting in class with each other and working with teacher and student, and some of the stuff was teacher and groups. It's a 1-on-1, you know what a 1-on-1 is? Like we're doing right now.
Yeah. No, but I just wondered, like, what kind of things they worked on. Like, was it school that they worked on? Was it, like, therapy that they worked on? Was it...
No, school.
School, okay.
We're kind of like a tutoring, like what do you call it? Like a tutoring company.
Okay, and your parents sent you there because they wanted you to have one-on-one instruction.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't want middle school in Minneapolis sucks. So
Okay.
and then I went to Southwest and I had to start all over again in ninth grade.
Okay, and did you like Southwest?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It became the first program at Southwest. So me and my couple of my friends would for Gimme Pigs.
Oh.
Was our team program for Southwest.
Okay, and did you enjoy being the guinea pigs?
Until they put it in the flag room.
The flag room?
Under the auditorium.
So it was like you and a bunch of flags?
Yeah, no. They call it the flag room, that where they put the flag. But the auditorium would, on second year was under there so you could hear the whole auditorium.
Was that weird?
Right next to the auditorium, in the same area.
Okay.
It's very crazy.
Okay, and how many people were in that program?
4, and then it got bigger and bigger.
Okay.
And now, I think right now, it's not really a program. It's part of the special ads.
Okay. Well, because I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think now we're really allowed to have, like, separate programs.
Yeah.
And some people think that that's a really good thing, and other people think that their loved one is not getting adequate support or free and appropriate public education, which, as people probably know, is a federal right. So there's a whole lot of contention there. And I don't know. I don't think we're going to get... we might, but I don't think we're going to get to cover that on this podcast. But it's kind of interesting because you would have literally been the first one of the first mainstream generations in the public school.
Yeah.
Because you're a little bit older than I am.
I don't know. I mean, IB is still there. That would focus on. I'm not going to go on IB and how the IB is a national program, and that was Southwest based on.
I'm sorry, IB?
Yeah.
Okay.
In national, you wouldn't.
International Baccalaureate? Okay, I did that in high school.
Did you like it?
I think I liked some of it and not all of it, but IB doesn't have anything to do with special ed.
No, I know.
No, but you were in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I know people that were in it.
Oh, yeah.
That was my school was known for.
Oh, your school, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. No, IB is, yeah. I don't know. I thought it was really hard. And I wasn't very good at taking the tests. You have to, like, take a test at the end of the year in IB to get the credit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very good test taker, so I didn't get any of the credit. So I just felt like all the work, it was not that worth it to have, like, all that extra work to do. But I'm glad I did it, I guess, because you learn more. But
after high school, I went to college for a couple of years. I went to Minneapolis Community College. I went to Huntington Tech College. No, I took them on Huntington Tech. I took the job thingamajig to see what kind of jobs they do. You know, the job test.
So okay, so is that the one? Because I took some job tests too, I think, where they like stand you at a table and then you have to like put the pegs in the hole.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the weird thing that happened to me when I took that test. I was like, I can't get the pegs in the hole because my arms don't work. And they were just like, well, you have to do it. I was like, well, I can't do it. And so I came back with like, she's really bad at everything.
Me too. They told me that I can do the job I wanted.
Yeah.
I ended up doing the job I liked. I ended up doing that job of Proac. I went to a company and I was lifting boxes. I'm like, come on. And they were saying, well, then, I'm like, I can't do boxes. And then my coach told me, when looking for a job, he told me, before he left, that he wanted me to find my own job. And I think he wanted me to leave the company. And I quit in the middle. And so they changed case manager.
Okay.
Then they put me back in classes. They're not going to give me a job. They wanted me to, I told them I wanted to sit down.
Okay.
Now I found a cool job where I do both.
Well, okay. Can I bring something up in case people are listening and not watching?
Yeah.
Okay, so Thomas also on both of his legs wears braces. So obviously somebody who is supporting him should be able to tell that perhaps a job that must be done in standing only is perhaps not appropriate, let alone even if you couldn't tell that, I think asking someone to stand all day is a tall order.
Yeah.
Whether or not they have a disability, actually, because we don't actually expect people who do not have disabilities to stand all day, usually.
Yeah.
If you were to go back to the beginning of your journey with all those jobs and all those classes that you took, do you have advice for someone else who's about to start that journey?
I would say fight for your rights.
Fight for your rights. Okay.
Go to your local senator. Go to your fight for your education. Go join the club. Join. Because there's a lot of discrimination out there.
Yeah.
And right now in this country, we need to. My goal for this is fight until we win the right.
Yeah.
It's time to move on and pick up the pieces and move on.
That's a good closing thought.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us today on Boldly. I wish you well, and I hope you keep making art and helping people tell their stories and using different mediums for people to find their voices and everything else that you do. Thanks, everybody, for joining us at Boldly today. See you next time.
Boldly Challenging Ableism is a co-production of AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. For more information, please visit ici.umn.edu.